Quince is an old-fashioned, sometimes considered an heirloom plant. Now, they're tree quince or shrub quince. This is a beautiful, pale, pink-flowered quince in the spring. But as you notice above me, it is filled with quince fruit. I'm not an expert. I've never made quince preserves, but some people do that all the time. And maybe you have a great recipe on making quince jam, jelly, or preserves. Some of the heirloom quince will produce lots of fruit that you see here. It's an easy to grow plant. The only thing I'd caution you with is that many of these old-fashioned quince have long thorns. So, wear protective eyewear, wear protective gloves, wear long sleeve shirts, and be careful because there are very sharp needles, and I'll tell you, I've pricked myself with the needles. But again, easy to grow plant in the garden, early spring blooming. This crabapple in the spring was full of flowers. Now you might wonder, why am I talking about fruits in a garden? Well, crabapples like this feed all the birds during the winter months. And many times there's whole flocks of cedar waxwings that'll come and feed on the fruit, plus other birds. Now, due to the drought that we had last year, there were more flowers this spring and much more fruit like you see here. Now, I have heard of people making jams and jellies out of the crabapple fruit. This variety, which may not be easy to find, is a beautiful weeping form, and it is called red jade. Let's go look at some other apples. This apple tree behind me is known as an ornamental apple. It's okay to eat, but it's not like a Granny Smith or a Fuji or a Rome or a Macintosh, but it's an ornamental apple. So it's a beautiful apple that you see here. And normally it is just filled with apples. And, talk about wildlife, the groundhogs come and feed on the apples that fall to the ground. One thing I learned about groundhogs is they do climb trees. I've known them to climb oak trees as high as 60 feet into a tree. But here they feed on all the apples that fall to the ground. And you can see how beautiful these apples are. And they sort of turn this color over time. So consider planting apple trees in the garden, both edible and ornamental. And keep in mind, most apple trees need pollinators. So you need to plant 2 to 3 different types of apples that bloom at the same time. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
Email your garden questions to viette@viette.com.